Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8-second gaming, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down 3 tips for every map in Apex. A lot of people are struggling with the ranked map rotation right now, but don't worry, I'm here to help you out, so let's hop in and break it down. But just quickly, if you're here, it's clear you're looking to take your Apex skill to the next level. So why haven't you checked out the GameLeap website yet? Over there, we have top level coaches, including myself, creating the best, most highly informative guides to make you the best player you could possibly be. We have legend guides, gun guides, VOD reviews, and much more, so click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, and start to improve today. But okay, with that covered, let's hop into everything. And to start things off, we have to talk about tip number 1, and that is the best drop spot for each map. Now, typically the best drop spot for somebody is wherever they are most comfortable or wherever they most enjoy dropping. My all-time favorite drop spot is Runoff on Kings Canyon. I absolutely love it there. I like to fight there, I like to play there, it's amazing. But it's not technically the best. Each map does kind of quote-unquote have a best spot to drop, so let's talk about them. And why not start off with KC? So of course, on KC there are actually 2 spots that could be considered the best. One if you want more gear, and another if you want more information. If you're looking to be a little bit more kitted up, you don't really care about information and zone knowledge where people are playing, everything like that, then you gotta go for Caustic Treatment. Caustic Treatment has not only a ton of loot inside itself, but you also have both compounds you could go to, and you could just run up the river and get all the loot that way as well. But on top of that, inside you have the little caustic test tubes that are filled with a ton of really good loot. And those tubes can be filled with gold, purple, a bunch of random stuff like that, so you can absolutely be stacked with all of the loot that you have at your disposal plus that. Now this place is usually very highly contested because you will get a lot of stuff from here, so if you want to go here, be prepared to fight most of the time. But if you don't care about loot as much, you still like it, but you want more information, definitely check out Map Room. Now, Map Room is the original UAV scan that the game had. When you activate it, you get to see not only where everyone is on the map at the current time, but also where the next ring is going to be pulling. And if you can play there for multiple rings, you can just keep activating it to keep getting the same information. You'll know where everyone is basically at all times, and you'll know where the ring is going to pull constantly. The amount of information this spot gives is absolutely bonkers. But even though it's a pretty strong spot to begin with, it also does have a pretty good amount of loot. It also has a grenade hold. You can go to Repulsor if you need more loot. There's a ton of options with it, and I really enjoyed the spot. It's not as highly contested as Caustic Treatment is, but it still usually is at least contested by one team. So most of the time you are going to have to fight for it, but it's not as bad as Caustic Treatment. That's KC done, so let's move into our next one, and that is going to be Olympus. Now, Olympus has a ton of really fantastic spots to drop. Fight Night's really good, Bonsai is really good, but the best spot for you to want to go to is Oasis. Now, I think a lot of people are going to be catching on to the same routine here. Oasis has a ton of loot at your disposal. Plus, it has a ton of really high tier stacked loot on the little bottom with the little bridge area, that kind of stuff. And another good thing about it is it's very condensed. So if you're playing somebody like Loba, you can hit pretty much all of Oasis with one black market. So even if you might have missed something on your initial run through, you can just pick it back up with that black market. But the biggest reason that I like Oasis over all of the other drop spots is the way that Olympus flows is very beneficial to you. If you drop Bonsai or Fight Night or any of those other spots like that, you are typically going to be the ones getting third-partied. Fights in those locations often get dragged out, people like to stall them out, but you're the ones that are going to be third party because of the way that everything flows. With Oasis, nothing really flows into your drop spot. That isn't to say that people can't make their way over to you, but it's not going to be the same as somebody that's near Bonsai because there's so many different ways to get to Bonsai. If you're playing in Bonsai, people can come from Icarus, they can come from Solar Ray, they can come from Phase Driver, there's a lot of different options. If you're playing in Fight Night, people from Turbine, people from Carrier, people from Docks, people from Power Grid, they're probably going to make their way into you. But with Oasis, the only spot that could really technically third party you would be either Elysium or Estates. And Estates fights usually also get dragged out pretty long, so if somebody is in Elysium, they're probably going to go to Estates first, giving you a little bit of extra time. So Oasis is a lot less likely to be third-partied than other locations off the initial drop. That's why I like it and prefer it over other spots. But now we can move into Broken Moon, and Broken Moon is a very notoriously hated map by the community, and I don't understand why. I actually really like this map. I think a lot of people get a wrong perception of it, but hey, you know, everybody has their own opinions. But Broken Moon, like Olympus, does have a lot of very strong spots to go to. There are a lot of different options. So this one is going to be more of a personal opinion, but it is going to be backed up by a few things as well. So for Broken Moon, I am going to be recommending that you guys drop the Foundry. Now the Foundry is a very uncontested spot typically, but it is a very easy spot to fight in if you do happen to be contested. You hold the main building, you get the little back area, you get the pills, you get the guns that are there, and you start to make your way towards the enemy team. If they all land in the same spot that wasn't the main building, they're not going to have the same amount of loot as you, and you should probably win the RNG battle. But if you aren't contested, there is a bunch of loot here. It is a little bit spread out, so it is going to be a little bit harder to loot it, but if you have a good loot path with your team, you should be fine. But then you have so many great options for rotations out. You have two different zip rails that you can take. Both of them go past cultivation, but they go in different directions. You can go to the north of the map, you can go to the west of the map, or you don't even have to take a zip rail at all and you can just run your way out there. There also is a pretty decent amount of small buildings on the way out of Foundry, so there's going to be a lot of options to pick up some supplementary loot. And there's not a ton of really harsh choke points. Broken Moon can be really bad with its choke points, but leaving the Foundry, you're not going to be as screwed as some other places. When Broken Moon first dropped, this was me and my team's spot. When we were grinding ranked on this map, this is where we went every single game because of how solid it is, and I highly recommend it for other people as well. But okay, that's tip number one of the way, so let's move into tip number two, and that is the triangles of death on each map. The triangles of death are essentially areas of the map that you should never go because fights there are typically going to get drawn out. Third, fourth, fifth parties are going to show up. You're going to probably die and you're probably going to lose points because of that. Every single map has one. You're probably going to see a pattern with this, but you should know exactly where they are. So let's start it off on KC. And the triangle of death here kind of is around bunker to cage and then up to farms. You can see it on screen here. This is the triangle of death on this map because everything flows into those areas. No matter where you are on the map, you're probably going to be going near one of those spots. So if a fight breaks out anywhere in this triangle, teams are going to hear it, teams are going to be on their way, and teams are going to be ready to third party you. This goes for every single map, but this is a must not fight area, especially on KC because of how small it is. One bullet goes out in this triangle, you're getting 3 teams running at you, so be careful. Next up though, we have Olympus, and Olympus is actually a little bit different because it does technically have 2 because of the way that it flows. There's a north one and a south one. So the north one is between Fight Night, Power Grid, and Turbine. You can see it on screen here. And the south one is between Energy Depot, Estates, and Hammond Labs. Again, you can see that these are towards the middle, and if you look, everything flows into this. Olympus does have a little bit of a weird flow to it. It's not the same as other maps, so it does have a second triangle, but it is still following the same pattern. But of course, next up we have Broken Moon, and this one actually isn't a triangle. This one is more of a rectangle of death. This one stretches basically from the outside of Core through Promenade and towards Terraformer. The Core, Promenade, and Terraformer are 3 of the most popular spots to drop on Broken Moon. A lot of people go there, and because so many people go there, whenever people are rotating for the mid game, they always think, hey, I should try to rotate through here, maybe pick up some stragglers and get some kills. So if any shots ring out in the meantime, they're definitely going to rotate towards those to catch the easy third party. So yeah, not as much of a triangle, more of a rectangle, but you get the point. But now let's move into tip number 3, and that is you have to understand each map's gimmick. Each map has something that it was designed around. Each map has a different kind of flow, quirk to it, and you have to understand that for every single map so you can start to use that to your advantage and start using it against other people as well. We'll start with KC because it's the easiest, and KC, you have to remember that is a very brawly map. KC was designed before the game had any form of ranked in mind. When KC came out, the only thing that the game had in mind was just the straight up battle royale version, pubs, that's it. So they didn't design it with any end games, any competitive in mind, so it's a lot smaller, a lot condensed. A lot of the choke points lead to each other because they want you to fight. You have to remember that about KC. Everything is probably going to get third party because of the way that the map flows. Once you start to really understand that, and you can start to take a lot more opportunistic fights because you'll understand how the map flows, how other teams are going to be running around, and you'll start to really understand how to get some easy LP off of that. Moving into Olympus though, its really big gimmick is its open sight lines. Scout sniper rifles work fantastic here because of how open everything is. If you take a lot of different high grounds, you can see so far because of it. And this does allow for some pretty hectic endgames because sometimes people just don't have any cover to play. So once you really understand how to abuse these sight lines with sniper rifles, with marksman rifles, stuff like that, you'll be able to pick off some really easy kills. But on top of that, you need to be able to play around that as well. So if you find yourself getting caught out in the open a lot, you might have to swap your team comp to include somebody like a Newcastle or a Gibraltar who can create cover at will. Sometimes you get caught out in an open field, sometimes you have nothing left to do, and so you just slam down a Newcastle wall, you drop a Gibraltar bubble, you give your team some time to breathe, you reset, you go again. It's something that you might have to incorporate into your team comp, but just be aware of it. And lastly, we've got Broken Moon. Now, Broken Moon does not flow like any other map in the game. This was designed around the zip rails. If you use the zip rails, you can get from point A to point B extremely quickly. It might not be a direct route, but it is going to be very fast, and for the most part, it is going to be safe unless somebody is camping the zip line. Don't get drawn in by the core or promenade or terraform because everybody else is dropping there. Don't be afraid to land on the edge and use the zip rails to get to a whole new spot extremely quickly. They only put one balloon on this map for a reason, so absolutely abuse the zip rails to get around the map extremely quickly and get yourself a very solid spot and zone. But let me know your favorite ranked map in the comments down below, and if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Thanks all for watching once again, mate. Second Game, and I'll see you guys in the next one.